All right, welcome everybody. We're excited to get going here. We're going to have people tuning in to the AI Revenue Summit 2025. I'm going to be your host here today, Gabe Larson. Such a cool event. Super excited that everyone can tune in again. We're doing a live thread, but we invite everybody over the next few days as you can to jump in and consume some of this amazing content. We had over 2,500 people register for this event. We assume most of them will be tuning in at some point today. We have some amazing speakers across the entire world, actually, 20 different countries. We have 48 different states in the United States covered. There were two, it looks like, that weren't. Some amazing speakers from IBM to LinkedIn to Bain to Customer to SEMrush, and then attendance from as well, just many different companies. Was surprised to see a real broad kind of set. And it's one thing I'll be interested in the keynote to jump into. We have people from HR coming in. We have people from customer service. We have customer success. We have sales. We have marketing. So we're seeing a broad array of people jumping in today. Super excited that you were able to tune in. We're going to have a great session as we dive into a couple different live sessions. So I'll be kicking it off with Dave Elkington, founder and CEO of Signals, and we'll be talking about the autonomous organization. We'll then jump into Sanjin from Bain, who will be talking about AI and some of the experience he's had at Bain. Kathy Johnson will be joining us, former CMO at TalkDesk and Sitecore. And we'll be talking about some of her experience. And then last but not least, we'll have Vivek from Microsoft. He's been doing some amazing thing in Microsoft Teams and wanted to talk about the future of collaboration. So with that, I wanted to just take one step back before I invite Dave onto the stage here. We had a fun exercise about awards. We broke out and said, hey, we want to help people follow those that are really guiding the way, especially on LinkedIn around AI in marketing, sales, and customer service. And so we had over 3,000 votes of trying to find some of those thought leaders that are helping you really find your way in AI. And so I want to just go through those and really commend some of those people for the work that they saw and the awards that they got. And so Hila leads us off. She's the founder of 10X GM. Tons of votes there. She scaled SaaS companies from 30 million to 400 million. Callie was next on that list. Callie Henderson, Chief Content Officer at Buzz Theory. I've seen some of that content on LinkedIn, really meaningful. And then Fedor, vice president at Capgemini, Invent, 25 years in tech. He's done some interesting stuff on voice in AI, agentic systems. If you haven't followed those three when it comes to the marketing angle, definitely pushing, I think, the parameters there. As we go a little bit further into our sales realm, Ryan Staley, founder and CEO of Whale Boss. Really cool company, helping 2x revenue, AI-led GTM, trained thousands of executives on AI, some really cool LinkedIn stuff, daily voice there. I think he's got a podcast as well, AI and GTM maybe. Dave Manjura, got to know these guys at CloudTask not too long ago. The Manjura method, a lot of value those guys are bringing. Chief RevOps Officer at CloudTask. If you haven't checked them out, definitely do. And then last but not least was Jordan Ledwine, a co-founder of SalesLift. It runs that AI Sales Guy newsletter, if you've heard of that, training teams to sell smarter with AI. So some cool stuff there. Again, a lot of AI content. We have to group together to find some of these people, as boy, are we all learning together. And then last but not least here, my friend, Alex. Alex came in and took it to town. Doing some amazing stuff in the CX world. Right now, he's a VP of partnerships at Quantum Metric, but really excited to see him on that list and some of the great things he's done. He was previously Medallia, Stella Connect. That's where we met, and also SurveyMonkey. Next on that list was, we need to actually connect, but Adida, he's the Senior Director of Customer Success at AppsFlyer. He's been recognized multiple times for some of the stuff he's been doing in that CX space. And then last but not least is the Chief Customer Officer and CEO at CSM Practices. She has that top customer retention podcast. I think it's called FeedSpot. She was also named top 25 customer success. So this isn't her first award. So Eric, congratulations. And again, need to continue to find ways. We wanted to do this mostly to help all of us, again, find those voices that are leading the way when it comes to ultimately AI. Is look, I just think that has been a challenge for all of us to learn. So we'll be reaching out to each one of those winners, but thank you honestly for pushing the boundaries on AI and helping us become better in some of these forms and functions. So with that, I wanted to jump into our first keynote. Let me get Dave Elkington on the stage. Dave, thanks for joining. And how are you? Oh, I've got you on mute there, I think, Dave. Let me see if I can get you off.
Yeah, he does that. That's a thing Gabe does. Like, he likes the stage, and so he mutes everybody else. So just if you're ever on a podcast with him or anything, just be warned. Like,
wouldn't be the first time, man.
It's not the first time.
So, Dave, just real quick, thoughts on the event. Again, a lot of people, I've been getting hundreds of messages just thanking people. Can't get to Shop Talk sometimes. It's expensive, but bringing these kind of speakers together for free content, all on AI. What's your take?
Well, and look, the quality and the expertise that these speakers are bringing us, like we've got, Sanyan from like Bain, like this guy, he leads Bain's AI practice. Super excited to have conversations with him. You've got head of worldwide product for Microsoft's Teams solution and how they're using Teams and collaboration and AI. So like, these are people who they don't have time for this, but they're like for free, they're jumping in, and it just goes, the depth, it just goes on and on. So like, look, I think this is the premier AI go-to-market event that I've seen. Now I'm biased, of course, because I'm involved, but even if I weren't, this is something I'd tune into. So pretty excited to be involved.
Yeah, look, and appreciate you and the team putting it on. Again, I think people are looking for ways to learn, and sometimes it can be difficult, but being able to consume this on their own time, I think they're super jazzed. So we wanted to jump in kind of our short time here and just talk about some of the trends and challenges going on. There's this word emerging that we've talked about. We've heard investors talk about it, this idea of the autonomous organization. And so today we'll be diving into this topic, but want to just backpedal just a little bit. You were in the trenches in the early SaaS wave, 80s, 90s, 2000s. Set the stage for us. How have companies traditionally kind of been scaling and growing? What did that look like in the past?
And this is going to be a problem because we have 20 minutes. I'm just going to warn people now. This is going to be a problem because this topic is really, really fascinating. So I'll go fast, cut me off if I'm going too long. But the way companies are getting built and have been built over the last 50 years has been evolving and changing. But there's this paradigm shift that just happened because of this new AI disruption. So let me kind of very brief back history. So like at Inside Sales, I raised, we raised nearly $400 million, and we just ran the traditional SaaS playbook. So when Mark Benioff at Salesforce left Oracle and then said, hey, I'm going to make a whole new industry of technology, SaaS, he's like, I'm going to do it a different way. Pardon me. So every venture firm said, oh, we love this. And they were dumping money. But what they were doing is they were dumping money into an entrepreneur running the old legacy brute force IBM playbook. So let me tell you what that playbook is. You raise a bunch, you get this great idea, you raise a bunch of money, 10 million, 100 million, $500 million. And then you hire this amazing executive to run sales and another amazing executive to run customer success. And then they say, okay, great, I know exactly what to do. And they just hire this armada of people who worked with them at the last company and then the next company and then the next company. And so it's just this brute force. And then they're like, oh, shoot, our process is chaos. What do we do? And they're like, we buy tools. So we buy Salesforce or we buy, a cadence tool or we buy a whatever. And it theoretically, it superimposes this new optimal workforce. And so that lasts for about 12 to 18 months. And then pretty soon the output's not there. So then they're like, oh, shoot, this doesn't work. They fire that sales executive or that marketing executive. And they're like, okay, let's start over. And it's just rinse and repeat. So this process happens. It's this brute. Now, here's what's interesting. It worked because it was a grow at all costs. You just dump money, scale more, dump money. Is it efficient? No. So then what happens? So you go fast forward. Then
sorry, Dave, what did you call it? What's the organ? You called it the brute?
It's a brute force playbook. It's a brute force playbook where you just raise money, throw it at people. And it's like, here's an example. the average attainment rate, North America, sales rep attainment rate.
I think it used to be below 50s now.
It's below 50%. So half of the AEs you hire don't hit quota.
Yeah.
But in the past it was okay. So then what happens is, let's call it 2015, 2018, investors were like, no. Now it's not grow at all costs. It's rule of 40, which really means you either need to grow fast or be profitable. And the sum of your growth rate or your profitability needs to exceed 40%. We don't care which one. So it's like one of the two, and that worked okay. But then coming out of COVID, 2002, 2003, investors were like, no, it doesn't work at all. And it was the year of efficiency, if you remember. So like Facebook, you were at Facebook at the time. They laid off 25% of the workforce.
Yeah, that's right. And he called it the year of efficiency. X was in that. And man, if you didn't have ads, AI, or VR in your title, you were about on the chopping block, it seemed like back then. But
hundreds of thousands of people were laid off.
Twitter? Twitter, what was that number?
So it went from, what was it, 14,000, including contractors, down to 2,500, and 80% workforce. And it worked, except that and growth came down, but they were all great profitability. Like Facebook, their stock price tripled the year of efficiency because they were highly profitable, but their growth rate, a lot of growth rates came down. Like Twitter's growth rate came down.
Yeah, because they got so efficient, but they weren't able to manage they did need to eventually get back to growth.
That's
obviously, right. But the efficiency was certainly there. So that
leads us to today. So now what's happening? So again, here's your history. Grow at all costs. That was the brute force playbook. Grow or be profitable, then just be profitable and clean house. But today, the fourth phase of this kind of enterprise organizational, build strategy is what we're calling the autonomous organization or the autonomous enterprise. And what it means is basically go back to the investors, because the investors are the ones, whether it's board members or Wall Street, they're driving company growth. And so what they're saying is you need to both be profitable and grow. So it's not the or from 10 years ago, it's the and. Yeah. And the investors are like, I don't know how you're going to do it, but you need an AI strategy. So AI is they know it's an AI approach, but they don't know how. So
cool. No,
that's where we're at.
Yeah, that's like the rapid. Yeah, look, that was rapid fire. So, okay, we got this brute force organization. I get it. I love the process. It's kind of like raise money, hire, get armies of people, build messy processes, pile
fire them,
start over, etc. So
average sales leadership at tenure, 18 months.
Right.
Here's why.
They're coming and going. Right. They're
6-month honeymoon, 6 months perform, 6 months transition out. And it just happens over and over. But growth happens along the way, but it's crazy costly. That's not where we're at today. Yeah.
So we moved to this autonomous organization, and AI is basically obviously the foundation of that. But I love the question you kind of ended with posing, how do I do that? It's nice that it's changing and AI is going to play a part, but I'd love to get into some of the core components of what you're seeing as part of this autonomous organization, how that's reshaping the future of work as we know it. So let's start at the top. What's kind of one of the core components of the things we're seeing in this?
I'm going to be rapid fire here again. So if people listening, and I think we have, it looks like, well over 1,000 people live, listening right now. So either reach out if you have questions afterwards. So I'm going to go fast. So there's in each of these growth strategies of companies, there's been a key metric that measures the effectiveness. So like growth efficiency back in the mid 2000s, there was this term called a magic number, which really, calculates how efficiently you can just generate new customers. Yeah. Then it went into that rule of 40, which is you need to be efficient in one of these two ways. Then it moved forward, and it's it was really just like EBITDA. It was all EBITDA was the key number. Yep. In an autonomous organization or an autonomous enterprise, the key metric is what we're calling the ECE ratio. So it's the cloud employee ratio, or the employee to autonomous agent ratio. And the key to all of this is there is the new organization is a hybrid organization of humans and AI. So that's the new metric. And so as you guys are thinking about,
and what do you think on that, Dave? I mean, right now, obviously, let's stick on the EC, and then I want to get to that kind of the cloud employee concept in just a second. But right now, I'm a startup. I have 300 people, and I've used ChatGPT. That's kind of where 90% of people are right now. What, how do you see that change? What's the quick version? Do you see that it's 200 people, and how does that look in the future?
Okay, let me first define, there are two different AI assistants or AI tools. Again, sorry guys, I have a frog in my throat. One is an AI agent, or
and that
an
would be the term
agent.
we hear everywhere. Yeah,
that's out there.
But I don't know if anybody knows what that means. So yeah, I'd be interested.
Yeah. So what that does is it is some kind of automation using AI that does a task. Think about workflow. It does a step or a few steps in a workflow. And so we see lots of that.
And it's very deterministic in nature.
Deterministic.
It's very if this, then that. It's like you tell it what to do.
That's right. And what's kind of behind it all is there are the old workflows that we used to use within Salesforce or all over the place. They're using AI to generate content in that workflow, but that workflow is still a deterministic workflow. Okay. Whereas a cloud employee, and we're seeing it pop up all over the web, that term of like a cloud employee or some variation of that term means it is an autonomous group of agents. So it's basically a cloud employee employs lots of these AI agents. So like at Signals, our cloud employees could have 30, 50, 200 AI agents doing work under it. And it really, where an AI agent does a task, a cloud employee does a job. So, look, this is a provocative thing, and I'll say it. They do human jobs. They're replacing a typical job that does what a human does. And the most common.
And sorry, just so deterministic on one side, and then cloud employees are then what's the
autonomous? So
more autonomous on that.
It's a good point. When I say autonomous, what I mean by that is there are different types of LLM models. Some of them generate content, and they're great. That's what we use in GPT all the time. Sure. And then we've heard this term. There's reasoning models. Yeah. A cloud employee uses AI to do reasoning, not like, so think about it this way. When a cloud employee has a task to do, it has lots of tools that it can access. It can scrape the web. It can interact with Salesforce. It can interact with HubSpot, with Marketo. It can, push into Gorgeous or Shopify. All those tools are available just like a human, and it determines what it needs. So it's available, but it autonomously makes decisions using reasoning models saying, I'll give an example. If you give a job to a cloud employee, say, look, I need you to set an appointment for me today with, these 12 people. It will look through its tools and say, okay, I already have this person's calendar. I'm just going to go straight to the calendar and I'm going to set that appointment. Or this one, I don't know this person's info. I'm going to go reach out on LinkedIn and I'm going to find the LinkedIn handle and I'm going to then reach out that way. And then I'm going to send it an email. So there's an autonomous nature.
Autonomy there. I like that. That right? Example definitely.
And it's just like a human. It's just like a human.
And then Dave, so then take the step. It feels like in this autonomous org, there is a new org design. And it's humans, it's agents, and it's cloud employees. Maybe did I get that right? And then double click about how you see those kind of working together. Are cloud employees more in this area? Are they more here? Are agents more there? How do you see this new org design shaping?
Now there's interesting. So we just performed some research. And it's available. I think we'll make it available right now in the chat. If our producer Jenny can go put it out there. We just produced some research. The new organization will look like a matrix or a lattice. So you have functional leaders that still own the jobs and the areas, and those will always be humans, it appears. And then there's basically cross-functional or lattice type roles where people are responsible for these cloud employees or even these AI agents, and they'll use both. So an organization is going to be a combination of humans, of cloud employees, and AI agents that all do different things. Okay. And so you have humans who own functional areas, and then you also have humans who manage and operate both AI agents and cloud employees. So an example of an AI agent is Cursor or Windsurf, like these coding assistants.
More
That's
like co-pilot type tool
co-pilots. That's
to
right.
kind of assist you in very
And
specific areas. And where do you see AI agents playing versus cloud employees playing? Can you,
yeah,
how do
so
you,
AI agents are, like you said, they're more attuned to doing tasks, which means they're really assistants for humans, or they're assistants for cloud employees. So they do tasks, whereas a cloud employee does a job and they're autonomous. So again, AI agents are, think about it like Cursor or things that help me do my job better. They're like little shortcuts and ways to simplify tasks. Whereas a
got it.
cloud employee has access to these and it does entire jobs. Now, one thing that's interesting that we're seeing happen is the tool glut, AI, and this new autonomous enterprise is actually changing the entire tool stack.
Yeah, yeah, I would love
Yeah,
to hear that because that's tools are such a big part of the brute force organization. We got a tool for everybody in their org, and every RevOps leader had 72 of them and 72 different vendors. What's the future of tools in this kind of autonomous organization?
yeah. So, in fact, let me take one step back and talk about. There's this concern. So, in this study that I just mentioned, and I'm looking at the notes here, so I'm looking down. That's what I'm looking at. There's this fear that AI is going to replace us. And the study doesn't suggest that that's the case. It looks like 79% of executives are very confident. They feel very confident that AI is going to help them in go to market to generate more income and personally make more money. But so that's 79. 71% of them, however, feel that it's also going to threaten their job. So there's this contradiction. There's this dialectic concern that, yeah, I know it's going to help me, but I'm a little bit afraid. So that's actually one of the things that's preventing companies moving forward with this new kind of entity and new kind of organization. However, okay, so remind me, what did you just ask me?
Yeah, it's tool. You were kind of just
Tools,
highlighting
yeah.
the tools versus some of the teammate concept that we're seeing in this
Okay,
autonomous
yeah. So
organization.
the study also showed that 51.3, that's a very specific number, 51.3% of AI initiatives are actually being funded by defunding tools. So the tools are going away. This Frankenstack of an AE, remember in the old brute force playbook, I hire an exec, they hire tons of people, and then I buy a bunch of tools to optimize, create that workflow. AI doesn't need that quantity of employees. And as a result, the tools aren't needed. So a lot of this budget is coming out of the tools. So 51% of the budget for AI initiatives is just removing overstack of tools.
And it's because it sounds like, Dave, there is a movement, this UI layer might actually change. Like, do I really need name X tool maybe to listen to my phone calls and give me a transcript, for example, when I could have an AI teammate join my phone call, do a prep with me before, give me insights during and after, do a role play. Like, do I need a tool or do I just want a teammate for that function? And so it sounds like there is going to be an interesting movement with the tool layer going forward.
I'm going to get some hate mail. I know when I say this, and I guess I'll take it.
Don't do it, and don't do. No, I don't know. Maybe do it.
Yeah. So I was talking with one of the CEOs of one of the largest SaaS companies in the planet. They're multi-billion-dollar company. It was like 3 or 4 months ago, and he shared with me. He said, "I believe that the entire SaaS technology industry is dead." And he said, "I am disrupting my company. Within the next 12 months, we will be an AI native platform because any company who is just throwing one more layer on this Frankenstack," and think about, you're all go-to-market leaders of various sorts listening. How many tools, you buy a CRM and then you're like, okay, but then I need a cadence tool. And then I need a phone system. And then I need this. And then I need a scheduling app. And then I need this. And then, all of a sudden you're buying and you're piecing together 15, 20, 30 tools. And this leader was like, AI it basically is forcing all those down to basically be a data holder, a database.
I love it.
And so he's like, they will be gone. So if you're listening now, like, you need to get, in my opinion, and by the way, if you work for a SaaS company, you need to, again, this is where I'll get hate mail. You got to disrupt yourself. If a multi-billion-dollar SaaS CEO, one of the most successful on the planet, is saying that he believes he needs to disrupt his company, every one of us need to.
We all need
If
to.
that's not a word of
Love it.
warning, nothing is. If
I
you're in
love
the
it.
SaaS space.
Got it. Okay. So a brute force organization moving to an autonomous organization, new metrics, a new tools, kind of a new org design. In the last few minutes, let's hit kind of what's next. A lot of companies today trying to figure out how to move into this autonomous organization. A lot of studies out there saying that AI, the basis, the foundation of the autonomous organization, is failing miserably. How do you coach companies? What advice do you give them as we kind of look to wrap here?
Yeah. So look there, and there's some notorious studies that have just come out. MIT just said essentially AI is failing. There's lots of failed this, failed that. And look, we're definitely in a hype cycle, right? Like, we're hearing it all over where AI's been in this crazy hype. And then I think it's going to plateau a bit, but I think we're going to see it actually spike probably early, Q1 of next year. The way to get ahead of that cycle, though, is to a couple of things. Number one, as we've seen our clients be successful deploying AI programs and initiatives, the first thing you have to do is you have to have an executive sponsor. Yeah. So if you've got a manager who wants to try something, it's not like it's going to like the likelihood of failure is nearly 100%. So you need your CEO, a CMO, you need a C-level or an EVP level or someone senior in your organization to sponsor this, because there will be bumps and bruises along the way. Number two, anticipate complexity. Everyone's like, oh, AI should just do it. Like, why do I need to do any work? Anticipate. This is especially early on, it's a lot of work. It's tuning, it's tweaking it. It's the same as when you hire a human, you got to onboard them. You have to train them, and then you have to coach them, and then you have to, do a one-on-one with them. AI needs that same level of energy and effort. And then the last thing I would say is, don't try. We see a lot of people try and build it in-house, where they're like, oh, I'm just going to go put N8N, or I'm going to put a make thing. Find somebody that is really great at this and partner with them. And it's not that you can't. Like if you're that guy or that woman who's like, I love it. Okay, cool. But most of us don't have time for this. Hire someone and find a firm who is great at this. And then maybe if you're just trying to save money in the future, great, build it on your own. But start off with someone to increase your likelihood of success. And what we're seeing is people do this. We have found the success rates well over 80%. Now it's early, so I'm saying this with a caveat of like yet to be seen. But the deployments that we're seeing, that really executive sponsorship, basically allocate resource to do the work, and then find partners who have deep expertise. You do those three things, the likelihood of success is very high.
I love it. I love it. So Dave, really appreciate it. So fun to kind of talk about, again, this idea of moving from this brute force organization into this autonomous organization and some of the characteristics you're seeing.
Let me hit one last point.
Hit it. I knew you would. I'm not surprised. Do it.
Watch your ratio, that ECE, like E to EC ratio. So how many humans do you have to cloud employees, or again, whatever name you want to put? That, I believe the future organization, instead of having 300 employees, will have 50. It'll have, like, you'll see a 5-to-1, a 6-to-1. In some companies, you'll see a 10-to-1 human to cloud employee ratio. That's not AI agent. That's actual autonomous cloud employee. So just start tracking it. Just put it on your KPIs.
I love it. All right. Well, Dave, again, appreciate the time. We actually wanted to dive deeper into this exact topic. And so to do that, we are going to bring on Sanjan. Sanjan, how you doing? Thanks so much for joining.
I'm doing well. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, man, we've had some fun. So we're going to be talking about, Dave and Sanjan are going to dive into this AI disconnect. And Dave and I were just scratching the surface why most enterprise AI fails to deliver revenue. Because again, we kind of set up a lot's going on in AI, Sanjan, but your company, other companies have been saying that AI isn't working all the time. And so wanted to dive into that. So Dave, I'm going to let you two take it from here. Perfect. And then I'll be back with Kathy Johnson to kind of talk about some of the success factors she's seeing. So Dave, over to you.
Perfect. Okay. So look, I could not be more excited to be having this conversation. And for all of you, again, I think we have, like I said, well over 1,000 people in live streaming right now. So this is a pretty good, pretty well attended event so far. Let me give a little background. Let me tell you why I'm so excited about this. So Sanyan is one of the most interesting humans alive. And everybody says it, but let me give some context and some background. Like, and I know you laugh because like, you can't see the forest through the trees. When you're like, it's like, oh, it's just my journey. So you taught yourself. So Sanyan taught himself to program when he worked in a basically a small, he lived on a small island growing up in the, during the Balkan conflict. And I mean, I think you told, your village was like 120 people. And so you go from that to getting an MBA from Yale. So that journey basically turned you into one of what I would say the world's experts in designing and understanding AI. And so you then are now a partner at Bain, and you are the AI kind of lead product expert at Bain. So you're consulting with some of the largest organizations on planet Earth and helping them deploy AI strategies, deploy AI solutions, and also avoiding some of the stuff that we were talking about around how to avoid, some of these failures. So I guess, thank you for joining us. Like really, like you're doing this for free. This is just you out of the goodness of your heart, kind of giving back to the community. So thank you for joining us.
You're too kind. I'm honored to be here and excited to have a fun conversation.
So let's jump in. First off, like again, there's lots of things I would love to go down, but tell us, like, first off, what is it that there's so many things I want to go down. First, tell us, I guess, a little bit about what are the things you're doing right now? What do you like? What are your current kinds of projects?
So it's actually almost kind of interesting to talk about how the projects have changed over the last 2 years since that ChatGPT moment in November of 2022. The first year or two, it was a lot about like, let's strategize where to do it. Let's do a lot of proof of concept. Let's see what works. This is so exciting. We're all trying to learn together what works. And then about like last summer, there was like a big kind of like vibe change where it went from like, let's do cool things with tech to like, show me the money. Like, how can this actually create tangible value that I can point to with my finger for my organization? So specifically, I help on all things customer. Sometimes that's the front of the house, kind of marketing and sales. Some of that it's like when they're customers, it's customer success, customer support, things of that nature. So a lot of the projects we're doing are projects that have like a clear and tangible way in which like doing this will result in this decrease in cost or this kind of increase in revenue. And we're building full on like workflows or AI agents to make that happen.
Okay, so I got to pause you because you just dropped a bunch of knowledge here that's kind of interesting. So the first thing you did is you're focusing on outcomes. So a lot of these AI projects that we're hearing about are more task oriented, like let me automate some content creation. And you're not doing that. What you're saying is there's got to be one of two kinds of outcomes. So like explore that just a teeny bit.
Yeah, so the biggest kind of divide in outcomes that we're seeing is people are conflating the technology works and it saves me some time with, and I actually get to see like a top line or bottom line impact, right? The big, mental gap people need to get over is like time saved does not equal money saved or money earned, right? So it may be that content generation as a use case is something we are doing, and it is, but you also have to pair it with like a really, really intelligent way of how you deploy it, right? First, you want that content engine to generate the right kind of stuff. The worst kind of content engines, and I've seen a lot of them, is like they generate stuff, but it's generic. It's not really grounded in what your company's doing. It's not appropriately personalized or tailored for what you need to do it. And you actually end up where like people are using, it takes them more time to generate content because now they have to kind of like edit this content that came from AI that actually if they just started from scratch, it would have been faster. But let's say they even have the technology that works. You really have to be honest with yourself. Do I actually want it to generate more revenue or am I using this to lower cost? And you cannot do both at the same time, right?
Okay. You got to just like, let's highlight that. You cannot. So first off, your AI initiative, again, it can generate content. It can send emails. It can do whatever. It has to have a defined outcome. So again, if you're taking notes and you're watching, first thing, make sure your initiative has one of those two objectives. And then your journey to get there is fine. It like however you have to get there. The second thing you just said, though, is It cannot do both. And there have been so many of our clients who've said, okay, I need to drive both revenue and I need it to be cheaper. Does that work?
Not at the same time as a single use case, no. And actually, this content generation is a perfect thing. First, it's like the very first thing these foundational models were good for, right? If you think about the first wave of AI companies like the likes of Jasper, they were the ones to figure out how to get like good copy out of GPT-3 class large language models. So if you take the content generation as an example, let's say it can do the work just as well as humans can do today, with some oversight probably. The way to save money is to say, cool, I'm going to create the same amount of content as I did before. I do not need fewer humans to do it. But that means you're actually going to have to like either let some people go or repurpose them to do something else in order to save cost. And a lot of people are really not willing to take that second part. If you want to take that use case for more revenue, what are you going to say? No, I'm going to have the same number of people today. They're going to generate 5x, 10x more content. And as a result, I'm going to have like more tailored, more personalized content for more like micro segments of people that I go after. And as a result, I'm going to be far more effective in my sales. But you cannot do both.
Can't do both.
It's not about the use case. It's about how you deploy it that the decision is made.
And we're seeing, oh, I cut you off. Keep going.
No, go
okay.
ahead.
So, I mean, there's so much here because you've had so much practical and pragmatic experience. You did, when we were talking beforehand, you shared this analogy that I really liked around, if you remember, around steam power versus electricity. Yeah. And like, what does that mean in terms, like, how does that reflect what we should be thinking about AI initiatives and projects?
Yeah. So the famous story here is at the turn of the 20th century and kind of into the 30s, a whole bunch of companies, manufacturing companies, realized like, look, electricity is clearly the future. We need to move our manufacturing from a steam-based operations to an electrical-based operation. So for those of you who are like not into history like I am, the way like steam manufacturing works is you basically have like a huge steam turbine. It turns like a huge pulley, and there's ropes on the ceilings that move around, and then like different equipment attaches to that giant pulley that uses the rotational force of the pulley. So there's two ways to like adopt electricity. Way number one is like, cool, I'm going to replace the steam engine with an electrical engine, and it's just going to spin and drive the pulleys around. That's option A. Option B is like, no, I'm going to tear up the pulleys. The cool thing about electricity is that it's a wire, and I can put the wire anywhere, and I can reimagine how my manufacturing floor looks like, and I can make it flexible. So if I need to switch from one type of thing to another thing, that's very, very easy because I can plug in my equipment anywhere. Turns out Group A did not survive. They all basically like died off up until 1930, or if not by 1930, they definitely died off in the Great Depression. And the folks who say like, no, we're going to go with option B, we're going to reimagine what the manufacturing flow looks like. Those are the companies that survived the Great Depression. And the analogy for the AI movement, it's a little bit similar. Folks that we are seeing that just like, hey, here's an AI tool, apply to your existing process, at best we're seeing like a 5% improvement in efficiency, right? But folks who take a step back and say like, well, look, we organized this work in a world where we didn't have AI. Let's take a step back and reimagine how this work actually needs to look like now that we have AI. Those are the folks that are seeing like upwards of 30 or 40% increase in efficiency.
Okay, so I love this analogy, and I've used it like 20 times since you shared it with me. I credit you about half the time. The other half, I
there's a famous book I wrote about it. Like, I didn't come up with it.
I was going to give you credit. Okay, so here's the question, and let me kind of peel it apart just a little bit more. That was my banana peeling, hand signal. By basically reinforcing these old patterns that worked for old technology, you basically fail. Like you basically carry bias along with you. So we've been seeing a lot of tool bloat over the last 10 years. So there's so many tech tools, and we are seeing a lot of AI deployments where like, oh, I'm just going to add some AI add-ons, features to this tool that I already bought. And we didn't prep this, so you can pass on this question. What tools are not companies? I'll keep you out of purgatory that way. But what tools are going to survive, and what tools are not, and what legacy tools should they be thinking about, and then how should they be using those kind of tools? Again, this was unprepped, so blame me if this was I was thinking about it, and I think it's a really interesting question for everybody.
No, so this is a hot take, and off the cuff.
Yeah.
The history doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme, right? So let's first like examine like what is interesting about like this new generative AI moment we find ourselves in is we now have these AI models that like are really, really good at taking unstructured data and making like reasonably good decisions on their own, if you prompt them and you do good context engineering. So what that means, the tools that are going to be most successful are the tools that can access where the context exists today, right? So if and the problem is for a lot of companies, because of the explosion of SaaS tools, the context tends to be spread across a whole bunch of different sources. So the best tools, are actually going to be able to figure out a way how to attach it. But some companies are going the opposite direction, saying like, well, if all this context is so important, I'm going to try to build a tool that goes across the entire stack. So you're seeing some of the kind of big rep tech players of the last decade. They all used to have their own lanes, or what they used to be really, really good at. And then in 2023, they all decided to have the same strategy, which is like, we're going to do everything everywhere all at once, because they realize how important this data context is in order to make a good decision everywhere in the chain. So first, the successful ones are going to be the ones that like can dynamically access data where it is. The ones that rely on you pulling the data in once, and then now you have it, like that's going to be really, really hard.
Because it becomes invalid the minute you have it, right?
Exactly. It's just
stale.
old, it's stale, it's not up to date.
Yep.
The second thing, I think, and this is where it kind of rhymes with the SaaS generation, the first wave of SaaS startups were like very, very opinionated about what your process needs to look like. And this includes Salesforce, right? Like, no, this is the way you manage it. Like, we're going to set it up for you. There's one way and one way to do it only. And if you look at the most successful SaaS companies, ServiceNow, Salesforce, like what they all figured out is like, no, we shouldn't dictate what the flow looks like. We should give people building blocks. And then if they need to configure it so it matches how they actually work, that's going to make the SaaS application way better. I think it's the same with the AI tools of today. The ones that are too opinionated about like how AI adds value, they're just going to like, they're not going to fit well for the process of your company. The ones that make it easy to configure it and tweak it so it matches your process are the ones that are going to like do really, really well.
Okay, I got to go take some notes because like this, like, no, but that's super interesting. Now, you also said something in one of our previous calls that we're beginning, or you're predicting that we're going to see some of the companies who do have data start to hoard it. Tell me your thoughts here.
So I'm seeing a little bit of this, not a lot, and it's usually a private equity owned company who is kind of like desperate for like extra cash. Because with the SaaSification of the enterprise, you have all of these like balkanized domains of data. Now all of them now have learned that they have to have API access, otherwise like you'll never get past through the CIO like procurement process. What some of them are beginning to do is like actually jack up the prices of the API to get the data out, right? And part of the reason they're doing that is they're trying to favor their own built-in AI features that usually aren't as good. And companies are like, well, your AI features are just like really not good. Like one CTO of a big SaaS company says like, it's a little bit like AI that picks socks for you in the morning. It does a pretty good job, but it's a pretty low value use case. Like, it takes me 10 seconds to pick my socks. So the fact that it does a really good job for me isn't that helpful. So they're trying to privilege themselves by saying like, well, you should use my AI tools because ultimately it's going to be cheaper, because building it yourself or piping into a different tool that can do a better job, I'm going to make it more expensive by adding a toll that says like, hey, every API call is like $1 or something egregious like that. And I think you may get a cash benefit from that
in the short term.
2 years. At some point, people are going to be like, get out. I'm switching you out.
And those are the tools, as we're talking about tools to avoid. Those are tools to be really careful of, because those are not, like, that's not where we want to land.
Yeah, I like how you're going into the, like, what does this mean for folks who are thinking about this? Like, think really hard. As you're picking tools, pay a lot of attention to, like, what is their ingest and export API policy. Like, what can you ingest and export?
Yeah.
So not only should you be able to export the ultimate outcome, that's a no-go. Ideally, if there's an AI solution, it should share its thinking traces so others can benefit from, like, not just like
so go all the way the opposite way, open it up.
Exactly. So those are going to be the best ones.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is you want to be really, really careful of tools that demand that you load all the data in. You really want to have tools that are able to plug into your existing data systems, because that way you have control of your data assets for your company, and all of these different AI employees of the future you want to be able to control the data foundation from which they all draw their data, right?
Their basis. Yeah, their basis.
Loading it in once, it's clumsy, and it creates like a lock-in that's just not good.
Okay. There's so much here. That's so good. Okay. I have two more things before we run out of time. I mean, this is even better than our previous conversation. So I'm just like, oh, okay. Make sure we are recording this, everybody. So tell me about how to pilot. If people are listening, this is like you saw the MIT study. People are failing at a massive rate right now. So how do people not do that?
Yeah, it's such a great question. And especially because we've seen so many pilots, especially in the first 2 years, we have a lot of data on like what goes well versus what doesn't go well. So first on that MIT study, I feel like it's deeply misunderstood. If you actually read it, which is kind of hard because it's hard to get access to it. You have to like submit the paperwork to get the research report. What it says, if you look at the data, is that a small portion of companies even made it to the point where they're actually piloting a tool, right? Only about, if you think about the task-specific Gen AI, only about 20% of companies have gotten to the point where they're piloting a tool, and then 5% of those, got a successful implementation. So what that means is that like your pilot to successful scale ratio is 25%, which guess what? It's been 25% since 2015, since the big data ML. Like it's always been that. It's like no different, right?
All right. So it's a bit of hype. Some of this study is a little bit of hyperbole here.
Well, it's hyperbole, and we agree with it. Like we do agree that 75% of pilots are failing because they're usually not set up right. So, which is kind of like what your question was. So like, in what way are they not set up well? So one thing that a lot of them kind of get wrong is like, they're not thinking long and hard enough about like the leading and lagging KPIs that you want to measure to even decide, is this pilot successful? Like the two most common KPIs I see being measured for those that like don't work out well at scale is like some sort of satisfaction of the tool from the people that are supposed to use it, like a CSAT or NPS. And then the second one tends to be just like, well, how much usage are we getting? Like how many people are using it, or how many hours per day are they using it? And they're good. You should collect those. That's a prerequisite. Without that, you have nothing. But you really, as you pick your pilots, you should have a very clear, almost like a mechanistic idea of like, this tool does that, it impacts this. As a result, this leading API gets better. And then this, slightly more lagging KPI gets better. And then, here's the ultimate outcome on revenue or cost, depending on what I'm targeting, right? So that becomes really, really important. Because
if you don't start with that, you're kind of cooked, right? Like, but they don't. They're like, let's see if it works. Those are the pilots we're seeing are like, this is neat. Let's try it. But you're saying you can't. You have, which is, by the way, like any project 101. What's the success criteria? Like, what's the measurement of success?
Yeah, and I've seen some of my clients who've done this really, really well on purpose. Choose a use case that maybe has like a lower theoretical upside, but there's a more direct linkage between like what you are doing and the impact that you're getting. So,
I see.
People would call it like, attributable incremental revenue or attributable, incremental cost savings, right? So, if you think about, let's say agentic lead discovery and prioritization, right? Like, I'm trying to get the top of the funnel better with like an AI employee, the leading KPI may be like email open rates or like MQL to SQL conversion rate or something like that. The lagging KPI is going to be like, what is the revenue I got from the prioritized, not. But the leading ones are going to be, things that you can measure very, very quickly, such that you get a strong signal that then like teaches you how to tweak your pilot, because your first version of the pilot is never going to be great.
Okay, cool. Okay.
So that's one big pitfall. Second big pitfall I see for folks who like move from pilot to scale and they get super disappointed, which actually happens a lot, is that they actually try to scale too quickly. I call it blitz scaling. They see it work in a small group. They get really excited. This is amazing. Look at all these leading KPIs that are getting better.
Let's go.
We should go to this entire organization at once. And here's the issue. Like what makes AI so valuable is that they're so great at handling like vague instructions and handling unstructured data and all of this stuff. What that means is all of a sudden the surface area of edge cases you haven't contemplated has exploded. And if you now give this to every single BU in the entire organization at once, the organization that built that use case is going to get inundated with like, oh my God, it didn't work for me here, it didn't work for me here. And then people are just going to like try it once, give up, and move on. People who do this really, really well, they prove it out like one BU or one area, and then they kind of scale it slowly
Another
over
one,
time.
and then another, and then just slowly ease into it.
Learn like what is different about that content generation system for this particular view versus that one. Certainly the systems you draw from are different. Maybe the buyers are different, so you have to rewrite the prompts for the personas. Maybe the orchestration that you use is different, and you want to contemplate all of that.
That makes sense. Okay, so related to that, what's the easiest use case where you see success? Like what should people, if they're going to start, there's a lot of people here who've tried something that probably failed. And it usually was they bought some tool that they're like, oh, I'm going to try this. When we spoke, you were like, don't start with the tool, start with the strategy, like start with the objective. So what's the right, like from your standpoint, your experience, what are the objectives? What are the departments? What are the processes that are working?
Yeah. So with the caveat that usually just one thing rarely can create a ton of value, but there are some things that like generally do work, and they could be the core around which you build like an end-to-end workflow of AI employees or AI agents or AI use cases. So the first one is in kind of targeting and knowing who you should go after and kind of like prioritizing your prospect clients. And like one of the cool ways that Gen AI helps is we've been building propensity models for like a decade. We're pretty good at it, but they tend to use structured data, like what industry,
Okay.
like how much are they growing, stuff like that. Things that are like really easy to feed into an ML model. What has now changed with Gen AI, like unstructured data can become a great signal of like a need that you can now feed into that model, and you'll find that the accuracy gets way better.
Okay.
Right? You can read news articles about this company and be like, this could be a good signal that they need me. Or if you're selling software, you can see like what kind of employees are they hiring and what does that tell me about the tech stack that they have. Things of that nature, when added to the targeting models, tends to make them a lot better. So what that means is that the salespeople that use them, all of a sudden, the pipeline that they're getting is just higher quality, and they're spending more time on higher quality deals.
So like, is that something a vendor would be bringing in for you? Is it something you should be asking your vendor to be doing it? Should they, like, as you build, because you're built, like, by the way, for everybody listening, Sanyan is like one of the strange human beings who understands the strategy and actually builds it. He delivers it. So he's both strategic and very hands-on. Like, how do they, it sounds like what you say sounds amazing. How do they actually do it?
Yeah. So I haven't yet seen an off-the-shelf tool that can do this completely automatically, but you can sort of hack it your way, even using your generalist tools like, ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, or maybe one of those workflow tools like N8N. But the idea is that like you want to have like a very clear logic around like, what kind of unstructured text data source could be a good source of intent for my industry, for my product, that if I had 1,000 free interns who could do a reasonably good job,
I would make them just go do it
all day long. And then you just write a prompt and be like, hey, does this particular, so I'll give a very real example. So this is something we did for like a company that sells like equipment for medical and bioscience research. They did really, really well with pharma companies, not as well with like medium and small size universities. And we realized that actually like most of the funding for research for this medium and small size university comes from like government grants. And because it's the government, they have to tell you who they give the grant to. So we create an agent that actually reads every single grant and says like, hey, how likely is it that in order to perform research in this grant, you will need physical equipment that like we make and sell? And then that kind of narrows it down and say, cool, like, well, which of our equipment would be most appropriate to do this kind of research? Because these abstracts are like pages and pages long. They have a lot of information about what they're going to do. And then you say, cool, well, these people just got, $1 million because it's also going to tell you how much money they have. Like, it seems like they definitely have a need. We should probably reach out to them. And then like, so the first time we did it is like the salespeople were overwhelmed with how many new leads they were getting. So we wrote a second AI agent or AI employee that actually proactively write an email like, hey, congratulations on this amazing Alzheimer's research grant. By the way, did you know they have this microscope? It's really good for doing that kind of research.
Amazing.
Let me know. And immediately the pipeline like grew like tremendously overnight.
So that's an amazing example. Did they, and this is something we learned in my old inside sales days, that the sales rep intuitively knew where the signals were. is how did you find that signal? Did your team know like, oh, this happens, and then you were able to then say, oh, we can do this at scale actually, and we can automate this whole thing? Like, how did you discover that?
The reps knew it, and they tried to do this.
They knew it, right? They knew it.
Yeah, but they couldn't do it, right? Because like each week the government does like 1,000 or even 10,000 grants per week, and you kind of have to hire people who have PhD in biomedical research to like understand like, is this a meta study? Is this like it's just uneconomical to do this in a world where you have to pay like a PhD to do this work. But guess what? With an LLM, reading each grant was like less than a cent.
It's a piece of cake. Yeah, it's a piece of cake. Yeah. So this is. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So like. And this is actually a really interesting point. It's like some of the most successful use cases I've seen in go-to-market, they're not about efficiency. They're not about cost. They're actually about doing net new things you never did before because you couldn't, and now you can. Because the problem with the efficiency ones is the immediate knee-jerk reaction is anxiety, like this is coming after my job, and the change management becomes really, really hard.
100%.
If instead your use cases are all about like, how do I make the seller's job easier? How do I make the marketing job easier? People are like, hell yes, tell me more. I want to hear.
100%. Yeah. So, okay. I mean, we could stop right now. We have 3 or 4 more minutes, but we literally could stop with that one point. Your people probably already know where that data is. They probably already know what it is, but they just can't do it. It's either too difficult, there's not enough time. So again, we didn't talk about that before, but like, again, I'm taking notes here. Okay. Is there any like framework that you recommend? I mean, it's so early. Is there a method? Is there a framework that you like to prescribe to?
I mean, one thing we always think about is like, don't think about an individual use case. Think about the workflow and think about the KPI that you're trying to do. Like, what is your biggest bottleneck? And the reason why I want to think about the end-to-end portfolio of use cases is like, if you just solve one, a new bottleneck emerges somewhere else, right? So like that's like one thing. The second thing is it's less of a framework, but more like I call them like, the 6 hard truths. And if you don't buy into them, you're going to have a hard time getting real value. So like one of them is like, you need to think about a portfolio. The second one is like bottoms up experimentation is valuable. It doesn't really create value at scale. It's a good way of identifying like promising areas. But the reason why it doesn't work at scale is because you rely on the front line to do the prompt engineering and context engineering. And most people are just not good at it. So you can use experimentation to identify cool things, but then hire experts who know how to build a solution around it.
You know how to really do this. Yeah.
Yeah. The third thing we already talked about, it's like, if you apply AI to existing process, you're going to get my productivity. Like oftentimes you want to rethink how the work should be done.
Okay.
4, data. Like the kind of data AI needs is not the kind of data that you've typically like even collected or governed. So spend a lot of time thinking about like, what is the golden truth of data I will need to ground this agent in to do a good job.
Okay.
And then like, the last one is kind of like, how do you pilot well? Is like one is on the KPIs and the other one is like not getting too excited.
We hit some of these things. That's amazing.
And then the last thing I'm going to say, like, as you're trying to pick between like cost savings or revenue, if you're a big company with lots of sellers or marketers, like let's say 1,000 plus, you can get value with efficiency and cost. If it's less than 1,000 people, it's going to be really, really hard because you're going to have to string so many different
There's
things
just not enough there. Yeah.
To get the impact. So like for most people, actually going after like increasing revenue and increasing effectiveness tends to work better.
Okay. That's boy, we could talk about so many things. So, okay, just I think a minute or two. Where do you see? So like, tilt to the future, like be a prophet for us here, a little prognostication. Where do you think things are going in the next, let's even just say 6 to 12 months? Like we can't go too far out. Like I pushed you at one point, like 5 years, and you're like, I don't know, like the moon.
Anybody who claims they do are delusional or lying.
I know. So like, 6 to 12 months, where is it going to land?
I think in the next 6 to 12 months, you will see a lot more folks realize that you can't just take things off the shelf. You're either going to have to like do the bespoke work yourself, or like a lot of success we're seeing is like, take a startup that does this well and use their forward deployed engineers to customize their solution for you. Those are the folks that are getting a lot. So I think that's going to like pick up a lot of steam going forward. I think the other thing that's going to pick up a lot of steam is like the need to create these API connections between the different systems and create a core data asset.
And access,
and that's
the real-time data access. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then past the 12 months, I think what people are not thinking, like maybe this is the 12 to 24 months, a lot of marketers and sellers keep thinking about how can we use AI to do a better job, what you will need to start thinking in 6 to 12 months is like, you should assume that your customer is also using AI as part of the research and buying process. So how do you need to tweak your selling process to match the fact that
to have the
buyers
AIs
are
work
using AI?
together? Okay, we're going to have you on another session at some point because I want to explore that concept. Okay, guys, this has been an amazing session. One of my favorites. Let's pull Gabe on. Look, before Gabe, Gabe and I have a little bit of an ego battle. So like, I don't want him to talk yet. How do people reach out and ask you questions? Like if they want to connect with you, what's the best way?
Oh, just like reach out on LinkedIn, or like my email is fairly obvious. It's sanyan.bikanik@bain.com. It couldn't be simpler than that.
Yep, perfect.
Thanks for having me. This was really fun.
That's cool. Thanks.
Thank you for doing it. Like
thank you for doing this. It's really cool.
Thank you for doing this. This is amazing. I can't wait to see all of it.
Yeah, Gabe, just remember what he just said.
Yeah,
I think he said I'm amazing. Okay, he didn't say that.
I appreciate it, Sanjan. We'll let you drop. So thank you again. So Dave, again, what an interesting session. I mean, again, right in the thick of it as we think about how to manage some of these different pilots. And he's actually built. I mean, this guy, he kind of does it all. He's like the strategy
but he's also he's the strategist, and he's the guy who's out in the market with some of the largest companies. He obviously can't do it on this, in a public venue, but he's building these for the largest companies on the planet, getting them into production, seeing successes and failures. So like, I'm just telling you, I'm surprised he was willing to do this. Like, don't tell him that. He shouldn't have been doing this. Like, he is a big deal. He was a little hard to get a hold of. That's not true.
Awesome. Well, again, Dave, thanks for jumping in and running the Sanjan. I'm going to let you jump for a minute.
Yep, I'm going to drop.
And we'll bring you back in a few.
Thanks.
So next we have Kathy. Kathy, thanks for joining. How are you?
I'm great, Gabe. How are you?
Yeah, well, I'm okay. The question is, how are you? Where do you find yourself today in this beautiful Tuesday, Wednesday afternoon?
Well, Gabe, it's so great to be with you. And my day is very different than what I thought it would be when we first talked about it. I'm actually in the midst of a move. The movers are right next to me. I have nothing on the walls behind me anymore. And as soon as you and I are done, they come and move all my office furniture out, and I'm out of here. So in Marin County, California today until today.
I love it. But that's the world we live in now, right? We were actually originally going to get Kathy, in a hotel as she was traveling and stuff. But
yep.
She's now got a fake move. She's got a move in the background, and she's ready to move it all out. So,
I'm so happy to be with you today.
Really appreciate it, Kathy.
Me.
And if you haven't already, to the audience, we're streaming on so many different platforms, but wherever you are, YouTube or Instagram or LinkedIn Live, would love to know where you're coming from. Throw it in the comments. It would be fun to kind of share that with us. So, Kathy and I do go interesting kind of way back, but her career has been phenomenal. And Kathy, I got to hand it to you. Obviously, some really big names in there. Salesforce being a very large, Sitecore, being the CMO there. We actually crossed paths at TalkDesk, and the meteoric rise that she did in revenue, I won't share that. The Forbes Cloud 100, I think you went from 66 to top 10 multiple times.
To 7.
Yes. You guys,
in 3 years.
Amazing run there. Launched multiple SaaS products. Has done a lot in now advising Vidozo, right?
And Punt. Vidozo and Punt.
Some great companies, right? And I think just the mix of all of this AI conversation. And so she's been a mentor to me. I thought it'd be fun to have her on and talk just a little bit about this idea of operationalizing AI. So many of us, it's obviously a little bit of a theory. She's seeing it real time. She's participating in it, having been the CMO of so many companies. So again, Kathy, excited to jump into the conversation today. So maybe let's start at the top. I do just want to get your big picture thought process real quick here before we dive into some of these core questions. Like, How do you shape the market? How do you talk to people about what's going on specifically as it's involving marketing?
Gosh, how do I do a lot of listening, Gabe, a lot of conversations with lots of people. I love meeting with these founders, CEOs, Ronnie Coleman from Punt and Shrad Verma from Vidoso, like just learning from these founders. It's so incredible. Attending sessions like this, Gabe, is huge. But lots of conversations. I'm in an AI CMO group, which I really appreciate being a part of. So lots of things.
Lot,
We all
lot,
have to listen.
and
A
well, and
lot
I
is
think that's
changing
it.
every day.
Yeah, so much learning going on. You're seeing a lot of companies start to jump in and obviously want to participate in this movement, and I think they probably should. You've used these words, kind of testing to nesting. Can you explain a little bit what that means as we kind of think about
Yes.
practicality in AI?
Absolutely. I started using this phrase back in January. I spoke in an executive dinner at the National Retail Federation
Uh-huh.
in New York City.
Always a good
And
one. Good old NRF. Yeah, I
it's
love it.
always a good
Always a
one.
good
Been
one.
going there for many, many years. It's fantastic. But I really wanted to help cement this idea that as marketers, we need to move beyond just the testing phase, which was important, right? It was testing the tools out there. It was testing the functionality and the tools we
Yeah.
already had that had added AI and really nesting it into what we do. So think about, how do we build it into our strategy and plans? How do we make it part of how we operate? So how do we bring it into, our plans, as I stated, our OKRs? How do we add awards to it? How do we make it a thought
I love
process
that.
for everything we do every day? I think fundamentally, I wanted to think about, how do we move away from AI as a weekend job, a
Yeah.
side project? Like,
Yeah.
marketers are so busy all the time. And instead, how do we make it just part of our job?
Yeah.
It's our job. It's not a tiger team. It's not a weekend job. It's our job.
I love that because, well, and look, it is kind of testing to nesting, because so there have been phases, and there was a time I think where we were just playing around with it, where it
Yes.
was maybe a sidekick. I love the tiger team concept. But to your point, it feels like it's gotten so real that it is time now, if you haven't already. And that might be one of the key takeaways from this session. If you haven't already, grab the tiger by the tail, no pun intended, and see if you can really get this nested into some of your processes. I would be interested to hear how you kind of made that shift, or coached, or seen organizations make that shift. You use this
Sure.
concept of certainly OKRs, but you and I talked about this idea of a Project 30. What
Yes.
was it? How did it come about? How did you start
Sure.
to play with this nesting idea?
Sure. Well, to be fair, I will tell you, I started with tiger teams, right?
We all did. No, we
Absolutely.
all, yeah,
Like,
for sure, right? We all did.
and I was like, this isn't working. I
Yeah.
want to leapfrog. So much is happening so fast. So in December of last year, I started an initiative called Project 30, because I wanted to really, again, cement this. I wanted to nest it into everything we do.
Yeah.
And Project 30 was the initiative for marketing around, how do we impact the business by 30%? How do we
Mhm.
improve pipeline? How do we decrease costs? How do we improve effectiveness or
Wow.
efficiency by 30%? And so I gave every L3, so every direct of my directs, got a target and a plan that they built. So think about
Wow. Whoa.
giving that accountability to every individual, but looking for that team impact, right,
Wow.
across the board. And I found that by giving it an initiative, giving it a name that, by the way, had a phased rollout plan of 3
Mm.
phases, had objectives tied to it, was built into everyone's OKRs. Everyone reported out against it in every QBR. We reported out against it every month to the board in a master deck that the company did across all departments. Like, it actually gave, something tangible to people. What are you doing for Project 30? What have you impacted? Have you reached your targets yet?
Wow.
So really moving from a tiger team, which was a little bit amorphous, to
Yes.
a very concrete initiative called Project 30.
Yeah, let's just unpack that a little bit, because that is such a, I think so many of us are starting to go through that evolution, the tiger team to kind of this concept of Project 30. So you obviously gave it a name. That sounds like that, like that was a fairly important part of it. But with that, you actually went to each of your leaders and embedded it into the OKRs. With that
Mhm.
part of the process, it was very specific then to the functional area. So for example, it might have been, 30% more efficiency here. It might have been 30% more pipeline there. Here it might have been something else, but it was fairly tailored to each of those L3s. Did I get that correct?
You got that absolutely correctly. And Gabe, a lot of people have asked me, why did you pick 30? Because I didn't have an initiative or a target from the board yet. But in my head, I was thinking, my gosh, the board's going to ask me pretty soon for this. Let me be in front of this.
Yeah.
And I picked 30 because, doesn't 10 and 20% sound too small? And so much was unknown that, was 50% too much? I think if I were to do it today, the percentage might be different.
Oh,
But back in
interesting.
December of last year, 30 was the number I picked.
Well, I liked your point. That is one of those like not too hot, not too cold. It's like, I don't know, 50 feels like a lot, 10% feels like that's not worth it. 30's just right, the old Goldilocks and the Three Bears. That's funny. I
Exactly.
was going to ask you where
Exactly.
30 came from, but it sounds like you wanted to
Mhm.
beat the board on up to their plan there. So you did do specific to the individual functional areas, and
Mhm.
then maybe just one more double click on that. I mean, I think so many of us are getting ChatGPT and throwing it over, and then or assigning a tiger team and saying figure something out. But
Mhm.
there was like it was then embedded in the whatever V2 Mom OKR something where there was expected readouts, accountability to
Yes.
hold to this obviously objective that you basically gave each person as if it were an OKR like anything else.
Absolutely. So, yes, every L3 had a target. It was part of their OKRs. They reported out against it in every QBR. So there was a
Wow.
particular section in every QBR report where they had to give an update.
Yeah.
I write a note every week to my team called Top of Mind. I talked
Mm,
about it every week.
yeah.
We turned our monthly marketing learning session into AI learning. We
Mm,
brought in an AI consultant. I heard Sanjan talk earlier. That's super important, right?
interesting.
Because so much around it is you know, Gabe, I have this philosophy that I want people to do the best work of their careers when working with me. And to
Yeah.
do that, we have to help upskill and train and help people learn and give a space for that.
Yeah.
So I even created a framework on what's the perfect day for a marketer at every skill level, manager, director,
Wow.
IC, and how much time should you try to carve out for that learning? Because again, this shouldn't be a weekend job. This should be part of our job.
Yeah. How
So
do you
yes, completely embedded and nested into everything we do.
Yeah, what was the reaction of the team? Was there a few things you'd highlight that feedback or surprise or even aha moments, where they were like, "Hey, this 20-minute chunk, I love the, taking a minute each day and seeing if you can set it aside so that it feels like it's not kind of an add-on, it is part of your." But
Right.
reactions from the team on this, were they bugged? Did they
Yeah.
liked it? What was the reaction there?
Really, I will be honest, mixed, right? And I think Sanjay and Dave alluded to this a little bit. Like, luckily, people were really open with me. Some people were really scared. They were scared about, will this replace me? They were scared about, what if I can't do it? Right? So
Mm,
that fear really came in two ways. So really important to be in front of that. And I believe this wholeheartedly, that I was helping people learn, be better marketers for the future,
yeah,
right? Because every marketer needs to understand AI. So there was absolutely that fear factor.
I love that.
That was
I
part
love
of
that.
it. Part of it was like this excitement, like, oh, we get to go play, we get to go try different things, we get to share our results. We had a Teams channel on where people were sharing what they were learning. I always do an extended marketing leadership team, which is the directs of the directs, and we would get together every other week and they'd be sharing what are they
Mm,
learning,
mm.
right? So it became this team initiative on, hey, we're not going to be perfect, we're going to learn along the way. So there was fear and there was
And there
excitement.
was both the excitement. How do you? The fear thing has come up now for me in multiple conversations. Like people want, I think, to move from test to nest, as you kind of say, but there is a little bit of pushback or there's a little nervousness,
Mhm,
around people losing their jobs or AI replacing them. You don't know what you
mhm,
don't know, and sounds like you were
mhm.
able to find that balance of, hey, let's create it. Is there a communication thing that you kind of initially set the table on? How did you overcome that fear thing? I'm hearing that more.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of things. One piece was in the Project 30, which I hadn't shared yet, Gabe, there were three phases, right?
Yeah.
So phase one was testing and training. Of course, that continues. Phase two was really drinking our own champagne, like helping work with product to design, build AI into our solutions. We sold to marketers and then using those solutions. And then third was building an agent organization. And
Oh,
one of the
cool.
things that was really important to
Cool.
me is I had 81 marketers. So I actually was talking about, we're going to have 81 marketers and 40 agents. Right. That's what I talked about with the team to
Cool.
make it very tangible that my target was not to replace the individuals, but to
Mm,
actually identify and build agents around the jobs to be done. And by the way, people were involved in selecting those agents, right?
cool.
That
Cool.
would be built.
Yeah.
And so every chart showed we're going to be an organization with 81 humans and 40 agents. So that was
Yeah,
one piece, like
I
making
like.
it visual to them.
Yep.
And then secondly was just addressing it heads on. You're
Yeah.
afraid. Let's talk about that. Right? My objective is not to replace you. My objective is to change the way you work
Mm.
and give you more time. Because Gabe, you and I have been in marketing for a while. Like, does any marketer say, I don't have enough to do?
I know, it's like I can always,
Never.
yeah, but yeah, you kind of set this precedent though, like, hey, I want to turn you into a supermarket, the old Iron Man analogy, like I'm here to. Sounds
Yes.
like you were able to establish that fairly early, but with some open dialogue around that as well. I love the org chart concept. Yeah, it's like, and Dave talked a little bit about that in his keynote. The org chart's changing.
Mhm.
There is going to be humans, and there is going to be agents, and there's probably going to be some
Yes.
agents that are more autonomous, probably doing some of their own stuff, and not just
Yes.
a co-pilot helping you maybe in content or some areas in marketing. But visualizing that and just saying this is our goal. The thing I like about you, and as we even prep for this session, so many people again throwing GPT out there and saying good luck, and then they're disappointed when the results are kind of like, I don't know, it didn't seem like it
Mm.
worked very well, but my guys, they're happy-ish, and maybe we're doing some better content, I think ish. But the very concrete things that you've kind of put in place, that org chart, 80, 40, OKRs, 30, project 30. It's just putting so much more of a name to this thing. And I think people have missed that so much. You hit this, you did, this was kind of your initiative. And I think a lot of people, in some of the studies we've seen, leadership buy-in can be a challenge at times. How did
Mhm.
your leaders react? I mean, I assume they were super happy, but advice to others who maybe are looking to get more buy-in from some of the board or the leaders as they kick off maybe a Project 30 initiative.
Yeah, I think, Gabe, it's such a good question, and it depends so much upon who you're working with and how much
Yeah,
they're embracing of it, right? For me, it was probably a little bit different. We sold into the MarTech, we sold to
sure,
marketers, to CMOs. So
sure.
we wanted to lead from the front. We wanted
Mm,
to be a fast forward. But for others, I think it's a matter of start somewhere,
yeah.
right? And sometimes I don't know. There's a poet I really like called, and you probably never thought we would talk poetry on this, but there's a poet I really like
I'm
called
open.
David
I'm
White.
open. I'm an open book.
And he has a poem starts that's framed, and I might get it kind of wrong, but start close in. And it's all about,
Mm,
start close in. Don't take the second step or the third step. Take the one that's closest to you, the one that's the hardest to take. So
yeah,
if you're getting that pushback, like find the small step, that first step you can take, and then show those results.
yeah,
I think
cool.
it's all about showing the beginning of the results. Like the first result we were able to tell was battle cards being created 75% faster. We went right to the heart of how do we, and I think Herth Sanjan talked about this a little bit too, around helping with revenue first, right? How do you help sales first,
Yeah.
right? Um, I always think about my marketing plans in three phases of what am I doing to feed the business, build the business, and create the future. And I
Mm,
would definitely say, think about feed the business first, which is that very short term. What are you doing this quarter to help sales?
yeah.
And have a win, and then get those champions internally, and then take the next step.
And
I
to kind of
think
go, yeah.
constantly time about it, but you have to start somewhere, and sometimes you have to start in stealth.
Yeah, yeah, and still, uh, you have to start. One more click. What do you? So you might just have to kind of. You might not have the buy-in. So find a small area to kind of win and get going on it, because you can't wait forever. And then once you have
Right.
that, you can kind of build off it, right? Yeah, interesting. How
Find one
did?
thing that you own. And interestingly, Gabe, just Sanjan, no, Dave made this comment. I think that there was research out there that much of the funding is coming from people deprecating other tools. Like people are finding a way to fund it themselves. So
Yeah.
look at what you yourself own. Like if you can't get the buy-in from across the leadership team, look at something you yourself own.
Mm,
Find a way to fund it, and do something first, and then show the impact and get the support.
yeah. Yeah. Because once you see that impact, like other big initiatives, there, so many people kind of move in that. You found, it seems
Mhm.
like you found a pretty good balance with kind of short term and long term a little bit. I think so many people are getting stuck in one, not getting anything off the ground, and then a lot of them are in like the pilot fiasco.
Mm,
It is like they can't get out of the quick win area to get to something that's a little
mm.
bit meaningful. I don't know if you experience that a little bit in your world, but I'm sure you've seen it in other areas if you've coached others and been mentoring some of these companies. Thoughts on being able to get to bigger impact items that came out in a couple of those studies, why they're failing. It's like they got maybe the content piece going, or they did find a little bit, but they couldn't then get to something that was like, I'm seeing a real drop in costs here, or I'm seeing a real jump in revenue. Thoughts on kind of getting from the crawl to the walk to the run, and getting out of that pilot
Right.
purgatory?
Well, I would say first off, Gabe, like we do what we um designed to do and measure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why Project 30 for me had a
You
crawl,
set
walk,
it up
run.
with
It
someone.
had a three phases, right? So we were communicating always, this is where we're starting, this is where we're going next, and this is where we're going later. Um, Having those clear objectives. I don't know, I'm a big believer in three, like the harmonies of three, like
Yeah.
also thinking about the feed, the build, and the create. Feed the business, build the business, and create the future. Like, how do you do the things today so you have the short wins, but then make sure
Yeah.
you're spending a percentage of your time in other pieces? I mean, Gabe, most marketers keep 10% of their budget for testing
For
things,
stuff
right?
anyway, right? Yeah.
So maybe you say to yourself, let me take that 10% of time of funding and let me look at those later stage
Mm.
pieces that I'm not expecting impact today
Yep.
on,
Yep.
but expect future impact.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, that you're right. 10%. We always have something lying around. You could probably find a way to bridge a little bit of that gap. Where do you think? And this might be a little technical, but you've seen kind of the whole gamut of stuff in AI, different projects and different places. You've experienced it yourself. If you were coaching a new marketer to kind of get going, is there a place where you would tell them to kind of start to get that stealth mode or get that crawl step nailed down? Because there are some quicker wins there. Any thoughts on where to start?
I believe, again, I think Sanjan or Dave mentioned this, but it has to start at the top. I
Mm.
remember for a while there were other folks out there who were saying they were letting their teams do it
Mm.
and they weren't necessarily leaning in. I
Yeah.
think the leader needs to lean in. You need to show that you speak the language. You need to show that you're on that learning journey. And by the way, you also need to coach and teach all along the way.
Yeah.
I think that's the very first step, like own this. If you yourself are carving out X number of hours a week for your own learning, like
Mm.
go get learning if you don't have it. There are so many great resources out there. There are amazing marketing AI people, like, the Lisa Adams, Nicole Lefford, like there's so many.
Yeah. I love
There
it.
are free classes out there that you can take. Like the AI Marketing Institute has an intro
Mm.
class. Helsinki University has the enablements of AI that's free, like course after course after course. There's this today, Gabe, this amazing program you put on. So I think like get the learning is the first step for sure. Um, and then create those communities around you where you can share and learn with others.
I love that. Yeah, the learning part, I think we're all looking forward. And to your point, that was the genesis of this. So we just had I think I told you a customer who said I wanted to go to one of these big events and the ticket price was too much and the fly I couldn't get there. But boy, I wish I could get great speakers on AI and continue that learning
Mm,
journey. Hopefully people are finding that beneficial. Maybe we can wrap just with a couple other things, Kathy, before we
sure.
let you go. If you had to kind of, a lot of us are starting the journey, but if you had to start over as a CMO and knowing what you know now, how is there principles or thoughts or advice you'd give to that kind of up and coming group? Like how would you do things different now that the AI
Mm.
is everywhere?
I would not do a timer team is definitely the number one. I think that really makes people feel it's a weekend job. It's not
Got it.
their job. So I would really put an initiative in place that's tied to what are you trying to accomplish as a
Yeah.
company that has targets. I'd bring in your not only your leadership team, but the ones one level down, like the actual folks who need to help their teams as well. Like bring them into that development, bring
Yeah.
them into that process. Brought them in to define the agents on the jobs to be done.
Mm,
Like bring them in so that they feel ownership over it and have accountability.
yeah.
And then the third, I would just say, make sure you're highlighting your wins.
Mm,
I
yeah.
think sometimes we all don't do enough of that.
Yeah, yeah, we always try to get so much credibility and excitement externally, we forget there's a whole battle to be won internally, and you got to
Yes.
sometimes toot your own horn. But look, I found with that fear thing we talked about early, bringing the people
Mhm.
in early and having them participate. That's cool. Like what agents do you think? I'm obviously not going to shove these 40 down your throat, but
Right.
help me
Who
create
likes
that new
that,
roadmap.
Gabe?
Yeah.
Nobody likes that, right?
It's like you see, you
I
guys
don't
got
want
it.
someone to do that to me.
You got to team up to make it all work. Cool. We'll get Kathy. Really appreciate you jumping on today. I know you've got to get the move is coming. Whether we like it or not, it's happening. If someone wanted to continue this dialogue or dive a little deeper into this idea of kind of testing and nesting, quick thoughts or where could they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn for sure. And maybe I can pop it in the chat as well.
Yeah, we'll
There, but
make
please do
sure.
reach out. Would love to chat with folks for sure. This is a
Awesome.
really exciting time for market. I didn't tell you this yet, Gabe, but my eldest daughter just went into marketing. She's in her first marketing
Oh
job.
no, they're coming. Then okay, yes, here we go.
So this is really fun for me to see, how the world will continue in
Oh my,
marketing, like how it will change as I've seen so much change over my career. So
oh my
love to
heavens.
chat with
Yeah. Well,
people,
tell her
beginning
best
of their
of luck.
journey or later.
Tell her best of luck.
Awesome.
And again, appreciate it, Kathy.
I will. Thank you
Take
so much, Gabe.
Awesome. Well, I'll bring Dave back on. Dave, yeah, I was excited to have Kathy again. Such a
It's
storied
amazing.
career there.
What an experience, right?
And trying to find just trying to dive deeper into this idea of operationalizing. I know Sanjin kind of hit on some of the reasons people are failing, and Kathy had some real, just very tactical stuff about saying, "Hey, you can't just keep it in the pilot purgatory." And Sanjin mentioned that, but really, I mean, the Project 30, the OKR is the bringing the team along, defining the org map with the team, and just saying, "Hey, like." This ain't the weekend party that this has been with the Tiger team. This is super real. So anyways, excited to have Kathy join, but
Yeah.
we're on to the next one here.
Hey, but before we do, I need to apologize. Apparently, I've had probably 10 texts about my cats running around behind me. So if you're seeing cats, it is my daughter's fault. I apologize. But there's some if me or Vivek, who is about to join, get boring, just watch for cats. Apparently,
It's
so
true. I mean, it's funny the comments because again, we're streaming on so many
Right?
different platforms here, but I'm watching on it. I'm like, yeah, the cat that we need, like Dave is the crazy cat
my
guy.
daughter, I'm a cat lady. My daughter went to college and left me with 3 cats. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
I'm not quite sure what to say about
Well,
that.
we
It's
appreciate
uncomfortable.
you being a cat foster, Dave, and continuing the animal
Yeah.
creation.
Cat lovers, here I am.
Yeah. All right. Let's
Okay,
bring
let's go.
bring in Vivek. Vivek, how are you?
I'm well. How are you? Yeah.
Hey, man. Yeah, super excited. I'm going to let you and Dave kind of talk about this and excuse myself here, but really appreciate you taking the time, your experience and career at Microsoft. Vivek and I have now gone back and forth multiple times, but a super authentic, genuine person. And this talk about the future of collaboration, I think is going to be awesome. So, Dave, over to you. I'll take it from there.
Would you just get out of here, Gabe? Would you just get out?
Well, I like to make sure people hear me and I'm here. Okay, bye.
No, Gabe is the best. Gabe is amazing. Look, okay, so we are super, super privileged to have Vivek here. He is one of the leaders. He runs product for the second most valuable company on the planet. And at various points, they are the most valuable company on the planet. So make no mistake, this is one of the most influential organizations, and he owns the product that represents collaboration for, I think you mentioned the number. It's like 320 million or 350 million active monthly users on Microsoft Teams. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. There are 320 active million users. I'm one of the leaders for the meetings area of Microsoft Teams. So good to be here, Dave.
Well, and what's exciting is you guys are at the very nexus of what's happening in machine learning and more importantly in AI. And you have the opportunity to run, this section of this product that is leveraging AI to improve human collaboration. So there's a ton of fear. Well, and before, look, Vivek's been with Microsoft for 17 plus years. He is basically helped, again, an organization that has affected pretty much everybody on the planet. And so, and everybody has worked, has used a Microsoft Teams, or been in a Microsoft Teams meeting. And so again, we're super privileged, really lucky to have you here. And I know you have a hard stop at the top of the hour, so we are going to just jam through a lot of information. So again, thank you for being here. Let's jump right in. Give just a little bit of context. So what is specifically like, what is your role around teams, and what are some of the kinds of things that you've been introducing? And again, we're going to dive deep into some of this. And guys, we have hundreds of people live, by the way, just, so don't say anything really bad. But we have an opportunity to hear how Microsoft thinks about AI. So one of the leaders of AI, how they think about AI and how they're using it to help people collaborate. So it is not a Microsoft advertisement, but I've asked him to be very specific. So share a little bit about what your role is, and then the kinds of things that you've been building in Microsoft.
Yeah. Just a quick thing. Like I've been at Microsoft, as you said, Dave, for about 17 years. I do want to call out that a lot of the views that I have, like I'm a learner in this space first, right? As well. We're all learning as we go along. And a lot of the thoughts, actually, these are my opinions, not my company's place here, but I will share some anecdotes like what we've been doing here. But long story short, right? My current role at Microsoft is I'm one of the product leaders of our core meeting experiences. So those of you who use Teams meetings, the audio video experiences that you see are coming out of my team. The core user experience is coming out of my team. And it's been just a joy to see us go from very few users, because I've been on Teams for the last, like 7 or 8 years now. So
so you've seen it all.
I've seen it grow from like a little infant, like baby, to what it is now, And I want to say that, like, I know the buzz around AI right now is about, like OpenAI made it very, they basically democratized this. But totally. I want to say that the industry has been using AI, and including Microsoft,
for a long
time. So folks that are using like their virtual backgrounds in Teams, that is AI. That it's a type of AI, right? Not the ChatGPT kind, but it is AI. It's computer vision, right? Where we are using AI to detect what your face looks like, and then we add a background around the face. So AI is not new.
This is non-trivial math. That's not simple to do.
It's not simple to do. They are very smart minds working on this around the world, right? And they have been for a long time. But what has shifted in the last 2 years has been around the whole. It's become very accessible for folks with the ChatGPT. It's like being able to crunch like data, like lots and lots of data, and just get an insight so easily in a matter of seconds, or if you're using a deep reasoning tool or rather model, then it's going to take a little bit longer than a few seconds, is just amazing to realize. It really cuts down the time,
right.
and helps you sift through stuff to really get the signal. It reduces the signal to noise ratio, if you will.
So let's dig into that. There, as you and I talked before, we talked about there's a lot of misconceptions you shared around AI and AI replacing humans, and that's actually not what you're seeing around collaboration. You're seeing more of a play on words, more of a collaboration with AI and some of these new features that you've been able to add to the solution, right?
Yeah. Like my view of the world is that AI is in its current form, right? Like what people are used to. It's become your best friend, your teammate,
right.
sort of thing, rather than here to take your job away, for lack of a better term. It's helping you run.
It's elevating you, right?
Your light. It's elevating you. Where you have a shortcoming, you now become a master. Where you think you're a master, you like your skills are getting amplified even more.
Mhm.
It's helping you cut back on time to gain that time back to do things that are more necessary to run your business at the end of the day.
And so you shared one of the features, because again, I want to highlight some of these features you've added. You own products, so you've added some of these AI features that have basically elevated people's collaboration capabilities. So I want to pull out some of them so people can begin to imagine maybe the art of the possible a little bit. So one of them was, and this actually surprised me, people are using one of your features around if they can't attend meetings. So tell us a little bit more about that, and how did that come about?
Yeah. So I'm sure folks that are some of the folks that are watching this, they've been in a position where they are sometimes double booked, triple booked. And while you want to really attend all these meetings, but you can really be only in one place at a given time. That's just the reality.
Yeah.
Right. And so when I first saw what AI could do, right? Like when we were seeing all of this, like 2.5 years ago, right? Like that momentum to allow users who are not able to attend meetings but are interested in the outcome of the meeting, and don't really have to view the entire recording, that 1 hour recording, but can catch up with that content in 10 minutes. That was gold, right? Or less, actually. Right. Where AI can really look at that recording, capture notes, and distill the essence of the meeting.
Even as it relates to me, which was kind of, I played with this. I can actually say, okay, what do I need to know? This was a 2-hour meeting. What do I actually need to know out of it? Right.
Yeah. What were my action items?
That's
when
right.
was I referenced? At what point was I referenced? You can, there's a lot that is being done here in this space. So this feature that we developed, like it's called Intelligent Recap, right? And it helps users reclaim their time back, right? Like and really catch up on meetings, and you can still contribute asynchronously. That's the beauty, right? Like you don't have to be present, and then once you've caught up, you can send a response back. Hey, this action of mine, here is the latest status or something. What have you? From that standpoint.
And that you said when you there was an aha moment you had when you're like, oh, I see how AI actually can help in these meetings. And it was this the genesis of this intelligent recap, right?
Yeah, that was one of the first features that we actually created, like meeting summaries, and then like having where you've been mentioned, if you will. So all of those came about as the larger picture of intelligent recap.
Tell me about the follow meeting feature too, because I think that's really interesting to people.
Yeah, so there's a new feature in Outlook that we've introduced. It's called Follow. It's a new RSVP way to RSVP. Typically, the traditional RSVPs are yes, no, tentative, right?
Right.
And quite often, like when I'm double triple booked, like previously I used to not respond because I didn't know, if this meeting that I'm planned to attend will get canceled, and I don't want to miss this other meeting. Yeah. And so it was like that conundrum that I always had, right? So this follow meeting, what it does is that when somebody sends you a meeting invite and you are not able to attend, but you're interested in the outcome of the meeting, you can RSVP as follow. Now the meeting organizer knows that you're actually following the meeting. You won't be able to attend synchronously, but you are following the meeting for the outcome. And then you can catch up on intelligent recap, if you will, and respond asynchronously. So it's a complete pre-meeting to a post-meeting, like covers the meeting life cycle, if you will.
So you just use this term, and I think I'm seeing this on a lot of our client deployments, where there's this, AI is allowing basically asynchronous interactions, where previously everything had to be kind of all synchronous. Like you and I are having, like we're on a virtual event right now, and there will be people who are watching it live, but there'll be lots of people who are just watching this thing tomorrow, or they'll be watching this. So this ability to be everywhere at any time you need to be is now possible. And this is an amazing example of asynchronous collaboration, right?
Yeah. And keep in mind, right? A lot of people are working with others in some other countries that are not in their time zone. It's going
Oh,
to be very hard. It
here's a
helps.
feature. I love this.
It, it helps all of those people who are, say, like right now, Europe is winding down, and they can catch up during their time. They don't need to feel that FOMO feeling that, hey, you know what, if I don't attend this meeting, right, like, and then I will miss out. Because think about it, these people are capturing the time back that they can also spend time with their kids having dinner. Otherwise, even those kind of situations, it's enabling us to get over.
So AI really is in a place to help elevate our lives and our capability. So kind of back to your very first point, it's not replacing us, it's enhancing us, and it should be improving our lives.
And think about it, right? Language barriers is another way, right? Like, this is a time barrier that it's overcoming. Another way is language barriers.
So real time, tell me about real time translation. I don't know that people know about this. I didn't know.
Yeah, like exactly, right? Like, so today I am a native English speaker, right? Like, and when I'm working with my team out in, say, China, for example, right? Um, their English may not be as good. So it is going to help. Like, AI can do live translation, right? And live, even audio translation, right? Like, they can speak in their native language, if you will, and I can hear in English in my language, and I can speak in English, and it gets translated to Mandarin on the other side.
This is Star Trek type stuff. What you're describing is like, it's Star Trek. It's, I click my little thing and it's like, we're speaking, like, you've deployed this capability in Teams.
Yes.
Dude, you got to sell it. I'm super excited about this. I didn't know that feature was in there, and it makes sense. Like, as soon as, you mentioned it last time when we were speaking, I was like, of course, like, why would it not do that? So the ability to collaborate with teams all over the world, you guys are shrinking the planet, right? You're making the planet, basically, we're one community, really.
That's right. And our goal is to whatever is a barrier to that we can reduce for awesome collaboration, we want to break that down, right? Are we there completely there? No, we're not. Absolutely not.
Well, I don't even know. We don't even know what it's going to be in 6 months.
That's
like,
right.
So we'll never, like, it'll be years before we actually land anywhere that is final.
That's right. That's right. So,
okay. So tell me a little bit about, from your seat, what are these hardest blockers? Just more, even outside of Teams, from your position, what are the, and we talked about a few, just to kind of remind you, we talked about kind of data problems and fragmentation, and then some trust, but explore that a little bit with us. Because I think, again, you have this bird's eye view where you see massive deployment of AI and, frankly, massive problems around AI.
Yeah, I mean, again, these are my thoughts, right? Like, I feel like customers, like, will want to make sure that their information, right, like their proprietary confidential information, is not being used, or like being used to and given to another customer, possibly a competitor, right? Like, imagine Shell Oil's data is given to Chevron, for example, right?
Not great. Let's be honest.
Not good, right? Like, so that I'm sure, like, that's going to be a big thing, right? Where users are, and everybody, like, if you even notice on ChatGPT now, there's a private mode, right? Like, so having that control of the data that it's being used, and Copilot allows that, right? Like in Microsoft, there's a tab there, there's a work tab, which means that a particular prompt, if you will, is going to use that data that's for your organization, and it is going to remain there, and when you flip the tab to web, it can get source the data from the web.
Oh,
so,
amazing.
So all, like, many of these providers, like Copilot's definitely one, but like others as well, right? They have this top of mind as one of the
challenges
areas, if you will.
Another one you shared was this lack of trust, and there's a lot of concern around hallucination and it not actually being trustworthy. Like, where are we at from an AI trust standpoint, and what are the real roadblockers?
I think it's getting better and better. But we always say, always check the work. If you're looking at the meeting summary that you've run, right, and it's creating notes for you, you should check whether it's accurate or not. Sometimes it does hallucinate, right? It's not perfect, but it is really, really good, and it's getting better.
It's getting better constantly, right?
Constantly.
So, I mean, how much? So, a lot of the attendees today are in a pilot of some kind of AI project at various stages, and we've gotten feedback. A lot of people have had failed pilots. Any recommendation? Like, how do people deploy AI from your standpoint in a way has a higher likelihood of success? And what are the kinds of deployments do you think they should be thinking about? Again, this is a little bit off the cuff.
Yeah. So I think in my mind, everybody should be using AI in whatever shape or form, right? Like to enhance their current role, if you will. I'll give an example, right? Like for me, that I use AI for, right? Like, as you can imagine, we get a lot of customer feedback, like, and they're from multiple channels.
Yep.
Having the ability of AI to go and distill that. Previously we used to like have Excel sheets and like all kinds of like ADO, like Azure DevOps, like all kinds of places these guys, this customer feedback will be coming. Now the ability to go and have an agent or a prompt, if you will, to just go and synthesize this information and give me, the top signals. It's awesome, right? What are the latest hotspots in the last 30 days? And I can get something. Hey, you know what? Maybe the audio is having a little bit of an issue, and here's how customers are experiencing that problem. Like, that's so powerful. So the way I look at this is that anything that you are spending more than 15, 20, 30, maybe an hour in your life for whatever, try and use AI, right? You will not be successful the first time, right? You've got to like get better at prompting to really get the essence out of whatever data analysis or something like that you may need to do. But once you get a hang of it and you get better and better and better, it's gonna pay in the long run, the way I look at it.
Okay, so you said something really interesting and it triggered a thought. And you can choose to not answer this question because this was not one we talked about beforehand. So if you're like, Dave, full pass, I accept that. So the way you and I met is an interesting story. So Gabe Larson, who was, he's hosting this and was commenting about collaboration tools and was, on LinkedIn. And he those who are watching probably have unavoidably seen some of his posts, and he's somewhat provocative. I think he does it just to get lots of views and follows. But and you reached out. Actually, you saw he was commenting about collaboration, and you reached out, and then you guys began a dialogue. So first off, I was like, that's amazing that a product manager over this large of an organization cared enough to comment and have a meaningful dialogue with somebody who was pretty vocal about it. I have to ask though, was there an AI tool that helped you identify that Gabe was talking about your product? Like, or are you just that like present?
To be honest, like it popped up on my LinkedIn.
Oh,
feed.
It did. It just popped up.
It popped up on my LinkedIn feed, because I am always like looking for feedback, because I do look at LinkedIn for posts, and it popped up. So LinkedIn's probably
its algorithm is clearly very good. Yeah,
it's good, and it just popped up. I think it was in the top. I don't remember it being the top post, but I think it was in the top 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So with enough scrolling, I could just see it.
You would have seen it. And again, LinkedIn, I've spoken to some of the product leaders there, are very entrenched in using AI to try and do exactly that. But I was curious because those are the kinds of things that we are seeing people use AI for, to be able to identify signals in topics that are interesting and related to them.
That's right.
So there's another thing that we talked about, and this is not necessarily your view of collaboration in teams, but you shared with me how you're developing prototypes and how you're using AI to accelerate the development process and collaborate with your engineering teams. And again, it kind of blew my mind. So again, you run a product team, and there's a very traditional product approach. You're disrupting that approach. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Well, we're still learning. All of us are still learning. I do want to call out, right? Like the way I've been thinking, like my personal view of this, right, is that AI is now allowing us to do many things that we're not good at, right? I've not written code in ages. Like that's the reality,
Right.
But like when I look at an app, and this is not an endorsement of this app, but I'm just saying, like I just tried this app called Lovable, right? Lovable is allowing me to go and mock up a UI just based on prompting.
That's crazy, right?
So when I look at that, I'm like, okay, can I do this? Like what previously we like product managers used to create like wireframes, right? So now this is that new wireframe, the way I look at it, right? Like, can I use a prompt to create that wireframe to communicate my idea?
And what's crazy about Lovable, because after you said that, I mean, I'd heard of them, but I hadn't done anything. I went and tried it. Again, not an endorsement. I know no one who works there. I have no relationship, but I went and bought the basic license. I mean, it's free, by the way. You could do a lot of it for free, and did exactly what you said. I developed not just UIs. I actually built clickable prototypes, like fully functional. I'm sure the code's not great, but it was enough to convey to an engineering team. They're like, "Oh, I see exactly what you mean. Like that makes total sense." So that's another kind of tying into this concept of collaboration. This is another type of collaboration that this is supporting. So you have product teams communicating much more effectively with engineering teams. Are there other ways you're using AI just in your role as a product leader that you think might be interesting to the people listening?
Yeah, I think I mentioned around like getting customer signals is one. Another one that I've been using it for understanding just market research, I think is also a good way.
Explain how you use that. So I get the concept. Like let's be tactical with people.
Yeah. So I'll give an example, right? Like I'm evaluating an opportunity right now, right? That I can't share about, but going into Copilot and just understanding how large is that market that I don't know anything about. Who are the top players? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? Right? Previously, you used to get reports from all of that, and you have to sift through all the reports. And like now, AI
does all of that work for you.
Has all of that and gives a link to the source, how they found that, right? And it's easy. It's easier. It reduces the time that I spend, if you will.
Yeah.
With the right source and helps me create that pitch deck, for lack of a better term, right? Like at least the elements that would go in a pitch deck, whether Microsoft should invest in this or not, as an example.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, evaluating like whether this is the right place to go and right direction to go is another place.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's super, super useful. So disseminating massive amounts of data. Okay. So I know you've got a hard stop here at the top of the hour. So I want to just ask, one or two more questions. So one of them is, where do you see the next 6 to 12 months of, I mean, anything you can disclose, about the vision of collaboration, not necessarily anything that Microsoft's going to release, but your vision of the next 6 to 12 months and then maybe 12 months on?
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned, I think the barriers that I've been talking about, time, language, like that speech, those barriers are going to keep going down. Like the walls are going to keep coming back down lower and lower and lower. That's how I envision this AI going over the next 6, 12, 24 months. And also the innovation that's happening is at a very fast pace, very, very fast.
What's the rate? Give us some scale from your standpoint.
I think it's a monumental shift, quite frankly. Like if I have to put it, like I've not seen something as fast before. Like it's really evolving rapidly.
Like weeks, not months or years. It's
weeks, yeah. Like I remember the time when I first joined Microsoft, software was being shipped every 3 years. Like that was like the client server architecture, if you remember.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Then we went into like the cloud era, And now those 3 years became like, oh, you know what, monthly releases kind
So
of,
you're doing monthly releases,
or like 2 bi-weekly releases. Like it depends on each product, right? Like, but what I'm
but
saying is like,
that's
but
crazy.
but like, but building it was also taking time. But now with AI, even the build time is reducing across
Yeah,
the board,
yeah.
right?
Right.
And so I just foresee more and more efficiency gain here, the way I look at it, across the whole stack.
So the thing I kind of got out of our previous conversation, and even more today, the fact that you're facilitating collaboration, even when I'm not with you, and even when I am, I can be speaking a different language. I can have real-time summaries. Like you're making this so that like anyone can collaborate with anyone at any time and at a much faster rate and in a much more visual way. There's one last feature I thought was really interesting. It's the virtual, I may say this wrong, it's the virtual whiteboard. Is that wrong?
Virtual whiteboard, like, are you talking about the Miro and the likes? Like
you
we have the
describe
Microsoft whiteboard.
Yeah, you describe where you can draw together and collaborate.
But that's been there since COVID timeframe, right? Like we had to, like if you recall, during COVID, everybody moved away from the offices, went home, right?
Yep.
And there were like whiteboarding was a key thing when we were in the office, right?
Totally.
Like to brainstorm. And so this whiteboard experience came during COVID time. So and people are, but like what AI can do is like, hey, take your meeting, right? Like what was said in the meeting and convert that into make
visual concept.
Visual concept on the whiteboard. Right?
But it can also do, I played with it because you said it and I was like, ooh, I'm going to try this. And I went and sketched some stuff up and it identified it. It cleaned it up. It did all like, it actually made my chicken scratch reasonably legible. Yeah. Actually kind of consumable. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you're representing to the people today is that collaboration is not like it was. It is global. It is multilingual. It is multicultural. It's fully like I would say every mode of communication. It's not just video like we're doing here. It's audio. Right. It's text. It's everything. Right.
That's right. We want to shrink the barriers. We want to keep shrinking the barriers.
I love it. You know? I mean, this is truly amazing. So how if people want to continue a conversation, they want to learn more, what's the best way? Are you open to that? How should people reach out to you?
Folks can DM me on LinkedIn if they wish to. I will say, like, I do get a lot of.
I know.
So it's not
apologize.
That I'm trying to ignore, right? But
you're on a big org. You're on a big team, and you're responsible for a very large project. But look, I think you have given us insight. Again, for everyone here, one of the brightest minds, I believe, in this collaboration industry, and he's basically sharing his playbook, sharing, his insights. So, I mean, I couldn't be more appreciative and thankful for you to join us. And again, we'd love to invite you to a future event if you'll have us again. But it's really been kind of you to share what you shared.
Thanks for the invite, Dave, and thank you for chatting with me.
No, it's amazing. Okay, we'll connect again soon. We'll let you drop, and I think Gabe is about to join. So thanks, Vivek.
Thanks, Vivek. Appreciate it. All right, Dave. Well, that's a wrap, man. We just have a couple minutes here. So want to just do a little bit of housekeeping items, but any closing arguments for the AI Revenue Summit 2025?
Okay, so we've done this for 3 years in a row, and every year it is so different. And we do other AI events, but this one's really interesting in that, like, we're seeing these boundaries of fear, which 3 years ago it was super hype. Everyone's like, "This is amazing." Last year, everybody's like, "This is terrible. It's going to destroy humanity." And it feels like we're back to this place where people are feeling like very hopeful and very optimistic. Like what we've heard is, like, early on, projects, there's ways to do these projects that are successful. There's ways to integrate it into our workflows. And then really this concept, from Vivek, that the collaboration is not what it ever used to be. We're shrinking the world. We're shrinking, like we're facilitating, like, and it's like Sanyan said at the beginning, we have to not think about the way we used to think. We can't just take the old playbook and then just put a new face on it. Like Sanyan's doing, like, it's different. Like we're in Star Trek days. Like it's really
Well, I mean,
interesting.
even what Vivek said, that, I mean, they used to do 3 years product shipping,
And now they're
it's
twice a
every
week. Like what?
I mean, it's like
This is
so
the
fun.
largest, second most
I mean,
valuable
that was awesome.
company on the
I was like,
planet.
holy
So
smokes, this
it is
stuff-
just we're in a new world. So I would say everybody like strap on. I think it's exciting times. I think you need to be reading every day, every week. Just stay ahead of things. Because today's reality will not be tomorrow's reality. It's just changing that fast.
I love it. I love it. Well, again, Dave, thanks for taking the time to put
Thanks.
it on, and for everybody who supported today's virtual event. Just a couple housekeeping items. Again, this is on demand. So I think 25 sessions total, about 20 others that are going as we speak, finishing up. So if you weren't able to attend, jump back in, feel free to reach out to those speakers, grab that content. I think it's amazing. Again, congratulations to the award winners. Those are a lot of people
It's a big
to follow.
deal. Thousands of votes, thousands and thousands of votes.
Dave just said it. We need help. Find those people who are being thought leaders, who are kind of pioneering some of this stuff. We tried to highlight a handful of them. I know there's others out there, but again, congratulations, because it means a lot, I think, to have your peers recognize you as people who are pushing the boundaries. I have been hit up and just wanted to make sure we had two kind of things today. Great research piece. You saw that link is available. We'll get that back to you. And then we also, a lot of people said, Gabe, how do I actually experience this autonomous organization? And so this link is also available. We want you to experience a cloud employee. We want you to kind of start to see how an agentic agent can kind of participate in your organization. So if you're interested in taking that next step to becoming an autonomous organization, don't be shy. Grab this link. Talk to me. We'll kind of set you up and start walking you through some of the things we're seeing in the space as we move towards that future of work. So, Dave, again, appreciate it for the audience.
Thanks everybody for joining in. This is a community we're creating together. It's not like it's Gabe or Dave or Vivek or anyone. This is a community we're all learning together.
Awesome. Okay. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.